Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Game Junk Podcast, episode 154, recording on Sunday, June 11th, 2023. My name is Frank.
My name is Sean.
And my name is Andrew.
And we have zero time to waste. We've done this intro 3 times, had technical difficulties, and we have a full Xbox showcase to talk about. The Summer Game Fest show and a smaller Starfield Direct that we're going to talk about first. I've done this shtick 3 times, I think, already. And Huck used to hate Bethesda games. Then he turned around somehow. We don't know why. If he was applying for jobs there. Never really got an answer to that. Never dug deep. But he also loves Mass Effect. So we're going to him first. Starfield Direct. Are you in or are you out? What did you think?
I must say, after this Direct, I'm more in than I was before. Definitely Mass Effect vibes. Definitely some freelancer vibes, which after our previous conversation that's on the chop and block floor, I know you guys don't know anything about this game. So it is a privateering game from the same people who are creating Star Citizen right now. And I think he also did Wing Commander. His name is Robert something.
Well, Wing Commander, and I feel like the X-Wing and TIE Fighter games had similar approaches to stuff where you would scan ships and fight them and take their stuff. Like, it seems influenced by those old PC games to some degree.
Yeah, a little bit for sure. And so he is making a similar game with privateering, and basically you steal, you destroy ships, steal their cargo, and then sell it on planets or smuggle stuff. And that seemed right in Starfield. Very similar thing. Now, there's not the constructor ships like there is in Starfield, but there is buying ships. But there's a lot of stuff in this I liked. The thing I still don't like is my camera freaking out, but I'm going to keep going this time and say that I don't like the size still. The size of the game feels just a little too big for me. And, you know, having 1,000 planets to visit, that's not appealing to me. I don't care about having 1,000 planets, and I'd rather just have, you know, a solid 20 or a solid 30 to go to and not have to worry about it. I did get the Mass Effect vibes, just like you guys were saying, with the star map and seeing the resources on the planet and all that stuff. And that all sounds neat. It's just the sheer volume of planets that I don't like.
Well,
and
if we're gonna talk vibes and volume of planets, I have to throw in No Man's Sky. Like, that's the game that I was seeing the most, including how they were extracting resources with that laser gun thing. That looked straight out of No Man's Sky. Even some of the creature designs, and it's not the exact type of game, but feels like that. The evolution of No Man's Sky and it getting better and people liking it more and more might have kind of stolen some of the thunder of what Starfield could have been.
Yeah, definitely. I've never really dived into No Man's Sky though, so I don't have a good barrier or a good option to go off of what that is. But it does give me a lot of No Man's Sky vibes just from what I've heard of and what I've seen in videos.
I mean, I fired up No Man's Sky in VR for the first time like a couple of weeks ago. Played for like maybe an hour, just kind of got the sense of what it is. But I think what I like about what I saw with Starfield is it's kind of No Man's Sky, but a little bit more directed. Like, obviously there's story there. Like, No Man's Sky is cool, but I just don't see myself putting in a ton of time for something that feels a bit aimless, I guess, is what I'd say.
Yeah, I think I would prefer Starfield as well. I'm not the biggest Bethesda game fan, and I generally think they're overrated, but I would say this version of Starfield looks really good. The 2 things that attracted me the most were the first-person combat looks much better than some of the shooting combat in previous Bethesda games, which generally is the least interesting aspect to me. And I thought the space combat looked awesome, and all the things you could do as a result of the space combat. I thought that looked excellent, and including, I liked how they brought in Fallout influence. I think the VATS system of targeting certain body parts. One of the traits you could have allowed you to see specific systems of different ships and target them when you're attacking them, which I think is a cool idea. I mean, it's got potential for sure. I did notice in terms of combat or even just general gameplay, not a lot of third person footage or just generic exploration footage. Everything seemed to be some gunplay, and if it was actually going from place to place, it was cutting to like side cameras and not the playable camera. So definitely some red flags being raised there for me. And lastly, I would say the anytime it would cut to the like iconic first person dialogue sequence camera and models for the like Bethesda games, you're always like looking directly at someone face to face. That looked a little dated to me, but the animation is definitely improved. So I don't know. In terms of how long we've been waiting for this game, and like, is it a next gen version of a Bethesda game? It's there a bit, but it's definitely the most intrigued I've been by a Bethesda game in a long time, especially starting fresh without previous entries in a series. And I will definitely pick it up and play it, but I don't know. It also benefited from being really one of the only games out of the whole week where we saw more than 3 minutes or even a minute of gameplay footage. So it's nice to dig a little deeper. And I guess the last thing I'll say, I thought the creatures looked really cool, especially considering how many sci-fi space games there are. They all come up with their own version of wildlife and creatures, and to do it and still come up with original things, I thought that was pretty impressive.
Yeah, I mean, it's in a way there weren't a ton of surprises. It's kind of the game that they've been talking about, but it looked fun. Like I could see myself getting lost in this game in a good way. And I'm definitely more interested, just for me personally, by default, a little more interested in a sci-fi world than I am in a fantasy world or even post-apocalyptic. Yeah. So that's kind of got me on board. But yeah, the first person thing, I did notice that. Just, I don't know if I'd say it's a red flag for me, but like it was more like Cyberpunk I played as a first person shooter. I know people who wanted to do more melee stuff were kind of disappointed with that aspect of that game. And it seems like it's probably similar here, but I'm okay with that personally.
So the combat stuff and whether or not first person or exploration gameplay will be very intriguing or a leap forward, which I don't think it's going to be. Not that that's a bad thing. Like people who love those games, that might be just fine to them, which is okay. But the other thing that genuinely looked bad to me was I like the city of what was it? New
Atlantis.
But you meet this group called Constellation, I believe. And that stuff looked brutal. Like the character models, the dialogue, the performances, that was pretty rough. If that's indicative of the storytelling engine for this game, I think it could be in trouble.
See, I was going to bring that up as something I found interesting in that you actually sounds like you get those people as part of your almost like team or crew, and you go on missions with those people, which is something that Bethesda games lack. They don't usually have that sort of team aspect or, camaraderie and bouncing ideas. It's kind of like you get one person coming in and out of your team. Maybe, you go on a little like escort mission with them and that's it. And then they're kind of done. Whereas this sounds like they're going to be in your party, kind of, maybe not bringing them along, but at least you'd kind of have them at your home base kind of thing and get to talk to them pretty consistently, which I think is actually kind of a nice thing for a Bethesda game, which I don't think you normally have. I mean, in Fallout 4, I think you have that like robot creature or whatever that kind of follows you along. But other than that, I don't think any other Bethesda games really have like a team with you.
Yeah, I don't think it's bad to have like companions or characters that where you make choices that have consequences in the game, or like help someone curate their own experience. But I meant more in terms of the animation, performance, writing. Like Mass Effect did that 15 years ago. Like it doesn't even seem that much better than that. And then you add on top of that the new trend in AAA games, in particular third-person action games, from what I can see, is having a cast of characters that you swap between gameplay. Like, okay, now you're playing as this character, then you move to this one, back and forth. Ragnarok kind of started it. I guess Last of Us Part 2 really started it. And it's like, okay, you're going to play as a bunch of characters that are all kind of fully formed and interesting and compelling. And I feel like they are a little behind in what this should be. I don't know. I think if I'm looking at the game as is right now, I do not think it's going to be good. If I had to go on the record right now, I think it's going to be bad. I think it's going to be an 8 out of 10 at best.
I mean, it's hard to judge the narrative stuff, especially because it is an open world game. And I think that's, comparing that to like The Last of Us Part 2 or something like that. Like this is one of the weaknesses of open world games, I think, is like you can have interesting writing, but somehow it doesn't feel cohesive. It feels a bit, I don't know, fake, I guess, because it's all just modular plug and play kind of stuff. But
yeah, even on the weekend, I was speculating about another video or trailer I saw, and I think like a lot of these dialogue trees and NPC stuff is going to be driven by AI generated dialogue. I think it's going to get worse. Like if I was working on this type of game, I'd be like, let's get away from this. Like people are going to really start disliking cheap, boring, generic NPC dialogue, and it's going to become a dime a dozen, I think. The good version of that is AI actually makes it easy to do a lot and make it good, or make it on the fly and make it for you as you play, but that would have design ramifications that could be tough to deal with. But I don't know. I mean, just in general, I don't want to skip ahead, but this whole week has been exactly that week. It's been a week for games.
I mean, the Sony showcase is looking a lot better. That's for sure.
Hells yeah, dude. And I give that a D-.
Yeah, yikes.
Yeah, I just wanted to agree with you guys about the procedural side quest things, and that's not really a factor for me in thinking it's going to be good. Like you said, like the procedural aspect is not something I find fun, and the fact that if we all land on the same planet and go to the same spot, there's going to be a different thing for each of us to do. Like that's not really that great for me. I would like it as we landed in the same spot. There's the same pirate outpost, and we can be like, "Oh, did you fight that at that pirate outpost and kick my ass?" "Oh, really? I did it with this weapon and got through it, no problem," kind of thing. That's the kind of conversations I like around games, not necessarily, "Oh, I had a totally different experience than everyone else." I don't find the community in that very appealing to me.
I mean, I definitely am a little pessimistic to how unique these experiences will be.
True.
I'm
sure it'll be cookie cutter and placed around, but
I gotta ask Sean, looking right at you, bud, this term, how did you feel about NASA punk?
Kind of cool, I guess. I don't know.
Are you a NASA punk?
I mean, I don't really understand what's punk about it per se, but sure, it's cool.
You didn't.
Am I a NASA punk?
They broke down NASA punk, the NASA part and the punk part. What do you mean you didn't know the punk part?
Oh, I heard the term. I guess I tuned out when they actually explained it, but I do remember.
I'm going to consider that as a failure for the term NASA punk, that you didn't even listen to the explanation. And I could tell you exactly what they said, but I'm not. You're going to have to go back and watch it if you want to know what NASA punk means.
I don't know if I'll do that.
So the real question is, who's going to pre-order the watch and who's buying the custom controller?
Frank,
I'm looking at you, Frank. Yeah.
I definitely considered it when I saw it. I not looked up price yet. The controller was kind of sexy. I'm not going to lie. I do like the branding of the game in general. and the logos. I do feel a little weird talking about this game because, like I said, it's been around forever. Like it better be good at this point. It's not like it was a surprise or it got delayed a year. We haven't mentioned the most surprising thing and positive thing to me was September 6th is pretty soon. I was pretty convinced this was going to get delayed to 2024. So the fact that it's coming out in a couple of months is a good sign.
Yeah. Well, I think we were talking about that after Redfall, right? That they can't, and it's, I mean, it still applies. They can't afford for this game to be bad or buggy or anything like that. And I would be pretty worried about that. I mean, with the size of it, for sure.
I listened to a bit of the after show on IGN after this, and I feel so bad for like a lot of the like main journalist like podcasts that are dedicated to a console, and they have to pretend to force feed these trash shows because like their team Xbox or team PlayStation, like this was garb. A couple people on there were pretty honest, and I appreciated that. But okay. Anything else for Starfield before we start to get into the new announcements?
No.
They started off with the tech of the lighting and the sun, which sounds good. Like it sounds impressive, but every game does shit like that. Like who cares?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. We all agree. 8 out of 10 at best. Moving on to the Xbox showcase. Was that the official title?
I think so.
Okay. The first game was Fable, titled Fable as of right now. And it started with Richard Iowati and as this character named Dave that was like a vegetable connoisseur or something like that. And I thought that was pretty funny. I actually liked the trailer. We better pause for 1 second, not from recording, but from discussing this. I was like, wasn't there an article from possibly IGN earlier in the week? And it was that Xbox promises no full CGI trailers. That they actually went out of their way to state no full CGI trailers.
I mean, that's this whole showcase, man.
Is like, how do you go at knowing this is what you're going to show people, make a statement like that? That is like the biggest bait and switch bullshit marketing thing I've ever seen in my life. Because you could count the gameplay in this 2 hours or whatever, probably on 2 hands in terms of minutes. It's nuts.
I mean, I didn't see that story ahead of time.
Oh yeah, look it up.
existed,
I looked it up already today, so I can verify that was a thing. So now, as a CGI concept,
so they clarified. It means it said
Full.
none of our first party games are full CG. Everything is either in-game footage, in-engine footage, or in-game footage with ... something else. Some cinematics.
is very strange because it's a lot of cinematic trailers. And this was the best cinematic trailer by far for me. Like it had an idea, it captured the humor of Fable. It looked like I couldn't tell if it was actual gameplay or not. I don't think so. I think it was like pre-rendered or visualized things to look like gameplay that aren't, but I could be wrong. But it looked pretty fun. My only commentary in terms of Fable, I love the Fable series, and like the art style, it looks like they just did like it looks like the Harry Potter game. I thought it was DLC for Harry Potter when it started because I'm like, this does not look all that great to me, art style wise. And Fable dealt with crazy proportion or interesting proportions and an aesthetic of like dealing with icons and sounds, and like it had its own vibe, and I didn't get that necessarily, but it looked okay. Sean?
It is a different developer, right?
Yeah, it's Playground, the teams that do Forza Horizons games.
Okay.
It's weird to me. On the IGN, they're like, oh, that team, they have a proven track record. Yeah, a proven track record making racing games. That does not mean anything.
Yeah, I mean, I really liked the trailer. Thought it had a good sense of humor. I was intrigued, but of course, it's just a cinematic. And did they even announce a date for this? Like,
and the IGN broadcast alluded to this too. That anything that was 2024, they said. So this is 2025 at best.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's very deep into development. And I would also say Ragnarok kind of stole the thunder with like the big sequence in this, with like it fighting a giant kind of thing. And
yeah,
it looked good, but I've done it pretty recently. Huck, are you there? Are you live? He's muted. We'll keep going.
I am here. I don't really have too much to say about the Fable thing. Like, I mean, I'm interested in it only because it's Fable. I'm interested that they're returning to Fable, but this CG trailer didn't really tell me much about the game. So that's kind of where I stand.
Yeah. I do have to mention one more thing about Starfield. My note was in the wrong place. It's a little weird to me. I talk about Last of Us preciousness and like celebrating this game. They're already like precious about Starfield, and it hasn't even been released yet. They said this is one of the most important RPGs ever made. Well, let's pump your brakes there for sure, because no one's even played it yet. The music they were playing was like, this is the greatest game. And in the trailer, it's like 25 years in the making. I was like, is every developer that's been around for 25 years, is every game they made 25, 30 years in the making? Like, relax with Starfield, please. We know your whole brand is depending on it, but have a little humility for this game until people play it. Okay, sorry, moving on. Next, Compulsion Games, which Xbox acquired. And this is the first thing they've announced since We Happy Few. And it had like a cool aesthetic. It made me think of Mr. Bones for Sega Saturn. And it was like this kind of blues playing zombie skeleton type dude. And someone looking for a creature. And that's pretty much it. It was a CG trailer, perhaps in engine, definitely a cinematic trailer. And I know absolutely nothing about what this game is. And it's called South of Midnight. And I have nothing to say other than the art style is cool.
Yeah, I mean, I was just going to say, like, with all the CG trailers, I can understand the point of doing them for like big franchises and stuff. Like, you can imagine in your head what some of those games are. You just need like a few little hints of something new or a vibe or an art style. This is a brand new IP. You have no idea. And then you just watch a cinematic play out essentially, and it means nothing. Like, I have no idea what this game is.
Mm-hmm.
So there is a Steam page live for it that says action adventure, which would probably be exactly along the lines of We Happy Few, I would think would also be considered action adventure. So it doesn't even really say if it's third person, first person. So there's really like a lot of detail missing here.
Yeah. A little strange. Next was Star Wars Outlaws, which is releasing in 2024, it said, and it's published by Ubisoft, although they said Ubisoft. So I don't even know what to say anymore.
Yeah, they messed up, man. Big
Did
time.
they? Is that official?
I'm pretty sure.
Okay. Because I'm trusting you on this one, Sean. Pronunciation.
I've been told multiple times in recent years that it's Ubisoft. So.
Okay. All right. That's what I thought. This could be cool. We're going to kind of hold on this because they're going to show actual gameplay during the Ubi showcase tomorrow. So we'll talk about this next week. I do have to say, after playing Jedi Survivor, I'm less interested in this game. I can't see how it would be that much different. But we'll find out tomorrow.
It is open world. That's the big selling point, I guess, right?
Kobo on Survivor is kind of open world, and it's really good. We shall see. Next.
Well, hang on. I just wanted to say too, like the fact that this was shown at the Xbox showcase, kind of weird.
Yeah, they're going to do gameplay tomorrow.
It
almost feels like, hey, you might want to actually watch the UB thing tomorrow. Like it was like maybe
that's what I was going to say. It could be the other way around. Microsoft is begging them, can we please show your trailer so it looks like we have more stuff? But I don't know how that works.
I didn't look at PlayStation's Twitter account today. Did they say also coming to PlayStation?
Yeah, I was wondering. I
didn't.
didn't see, but I hope they did.
Okay, next. When I saw this logo, I got very excited. Thunder Lotus, I absolutely love their games, in particular Spiritfarer. Their art is exceptional, indie developer in Quebec. And I have to say, this game did not look ready to show. The it's like a online co-op 30, I think 33 people can play at once in this kind of action game, top-down action game. But the gameplay itself, it was like there was no polish, no impact to what was happening. It felt really bland. So I don't know. I was kind of disappointed.
I feel the same. Yeah, I feel the same. It was surprising. Like there was a lot of
like the same like radial bullet attack, and it was like the same thing over and over again.
And there's a lot. I remember specifically there was one where there was just like yellow, almost like bunch of circles around the outside. And I was like, what is this effect that's going on? I can't even tell what's going on. It was really odd. And I always question these games that are so big co-op. Like, what's going to happen if you go to play and there's not a lot of people playing? Is this one of these games where it's just going to be sort of like AI characters taking over, or is it just going to, not have 33 people in it? And it's just going to be like you. So it'll be interesting to see how they scale it. I don't know. I have a lot of questions about this game for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's a cool concept, but yeah, like ultimately it's like 33 people playing together feels like it's going to be pretty chaotic. I can't think of any games that have done co-op with that many players, obviously, but yeah.
That might be the new trend as well. There was some other PC gaming showcase games with like big numbers for co-op, and we'll see what happens. But like their art is so good, in particular their animation. And I didn't get the vibe like this genre, this camera perspective is a great showcase for their art. And I thought the animations were kind of bad, especially for the main character, which you're copying like 33 times. So you're getting like the benefit. If those animations are amazing, you're getting to see them all over the place. So I don't know. I think it's just was too early to show, but I have faith in the developer ultimately. Next was Payday 3. And I've maybe dabbled in the Payday games. Anyone like these and want to talk about this game?
I mean, I definitely played the first one a fair bit. Second one, not as much, but I'm interested. I think the fact that it's going to be on Game Pass is kind of just exciting because it feels like if you want to get a bunch of friends together to play it, should be a little easier to do. And I think it'll be fun. I don't know if this is really adding much to it. It just looks better than the last two.
Personally, I thought it looked pretty mid. It was not a visually impressive game. The chat was definitely making comments about the graphical fidelity of this game.
Yeah, I haven't played any of the original Paydays, but also it's kind of interesting with the Haven Studios game coming out, whatever that one was called, that looks like a similar sort of like future-ish heist game. So yeah, it's kind of interesting to have two of these potentially coming out around the same time. Although I think the Haven one is later.
It's a ways out. Yeah. All I can remember is it ends with a $.
Yeah, I don't even think that's part of the name either.
Yeah, what was that?
Not a good sign. I can't remember the name. Yeah. Is it like freeloaders or something like that? Or
Fair Games.
Fair Games.
Fair Game. Whatever.
Fair Game.
Fair Game. And we didn't know if the $sign counted as an S. It does not. Okay. Payday 3. Little disappointing, to be honest. And next, Persona 3 Reloaded, which looked pretty good. I feel like the Persona announcements in this direct were the biggest things for most people.
A lot of Atlas.
Maybe we'll just talk about all the Persona stuff or adjacent Persona stuff right now. So Persona 3 Reloaded And Persona, what's
5 Tactics
5
or
Tactics?
Tactica.
Tactica, thank you, which is coming out this year, I believe, which is interesting. Uh, I'm sure that will do very well. Anything Persona does well. And I think the biggest one was a game from the producer of Persona 4 and 5. And I can't find the name here.
Metaphor.
Metaphor. Yes. Which I mean,
Fantasio or something like that.
when I was watching the trailer, this is Persona 6. It just kind of the menus, everything about it looks similar. It's not, but I want to play Persona games. I haven't, but I thought this looked really good. Huck, I feel like this is
well, the menu. I'm a little torn because literally the menus look exactly like the Persona 5 menus. So it almost feels like he took the Persona 5, code base and even art for the UI and just kind of slapped it, reskinned whatever his game was that he wanted to make with it. I mean, that's a great way to save, time and money, but it doesn't really make your game stand out as unique from Persona. Now, obviously he's tying it to Persona by saying, hey, I did Persona 4 and 5, so maybe that's not a bad thing. It'll obviously get Persona fans in the door. So I'm a little torn on the marketing aspect of this one, in that is it good to basically completely tie your game to Persona, even though it's not a Persona game, or should he have gone his own way and try to make his own name for it and still say like, hey, I made Persona 4 and 5, check out this game. But I don't know, it looked like
the art style. I thought it looked really good.
Looked a little darker, like a little more mature than a Persona game. But I thought it was kind of intriguing for sure.
What about the tactics game? Is that something you're interested in?
A little bit. It's the art style was a little more like bubbly or anime than the normal Persona 5.
Yeah, it looked
characters.
Like kids or something, wasn't it?
Yeah, so it was, and I did, from the gameplay they showed, I couldn't exactly tell what was going on. I actually had trouble. I kind of picked out that it was a tactics game, but I wasn't really able to pick up exactly like the nuances of how it was played. It looked like small scale tactics kind of areas. So I don't know, maybe I just missed a bigger scale scene, but I could see myself trying this. I would dabble in it, especially if it's a Game Pass game. I don't know if it's something I would like rush out to grab right away, but I'm interested.
Okay. Sean, anything to say about the Persona stuff?
No, I mean, I haven't really played any of them. I do actually want to try them at some point, but I guess my question was, are these Xbox exclusive or what's the deal there?
I don't think so, would be my guess.
Because like I'm reading,
they're on Game Pass though. At least Persona 3 was coming. The remake was coming to Game Pass, I think it said.
Right. Yeah, like I'm seeing like it says expected on Xbox One, Series X, PC. But and it says didn't confirm release on PlayStation, but likely they'll come there too. I remember Microsoft was doing this thing for a while where they were trying to bring in more Japanese developers, and I didn't know if that was part of that or what. But
yeah, I mean, it's possible. I highly doubt it though. Next was an Obsidian game called Avowed, where Outer Worlds was them basically, we're going to give you the Bethesda game you wanted instead of Fallout 76. This game feels like kind of a halfway in between Elder Scrolls and Starfield type of game that's in a classic Bethesda vein. But it focuses heavily on magic combat and like that Immortals of is it Avium or something like that? Like, and Forspoken, I feel like their magic combat is way more impressive. Like, I thought the combat looked pretty lame in this. The characters and world look intriguing, but this game was not moving my needle.
Didn't do much for me either. But this seemed like a game that they were really trying to push.
Did anyone play Outer Worlds here?
Yeah, I have.
Did you like it? Or
I liked it. I don't know how far I got, but I did hit a tipping point where I just couldn't get back into it. I left it for like a couple weeks, and then trying to get back into it was a struggle for me. But this game reminded me a little more of like Skyrim, and even in its visuals, it looked a little dated.
I totally think it looked dated.
So I don't know. I don't have much interest in it.
Skip ahead because just to mention the look of a lot of these games, their big announcement was a new Series S that's black with a bigger hard drive or storage. And I'm like, it feels like the Series S is a burden on all of these games. Like they do not look good. And I thought they might go the other way, saying we're no longer, some of these games won't support Series S. The fact that they're leaning into that is not an advantage to me.
Well, I think the other thing is that originally, it seemed like you needed to also support Xbox One, and that seems to have been dropped specifically for Game Pass. And that seems to no longer be a thing, that Microsoft is dropping that requirement. So that is interesting because almost every game, the little like tagline of what, platforms it's coming to, Xbox One, nowhere to be seen. So it is at least good to see that they've dropped that extremely dated SKU.
Yeah.
And gone with the S. The S is still, not cutting edge, but it's not that bad. It's playable. You can get the game playable on that.
Yeah, I think it's going to start hurting them. I get balked when they said we're going to address the supply issues with the Series X. We're going to put more in stock. And I'm like, you can find these everywhere. But I looked it up on Stock Track, and at least Walmart's within a 50-kilometer radius are sold out. So they must still be selling pretty well.
Interesting. I would have thought there'd be tons around too. That's funny.
I think they push online sales more than in-store sales these days, but I thought I'd be able to find one very easily in a store, and I couldn't. So got to give them credit there. Next, more Sea of Thieves content. I'm always shocked by the popularity of this game. I found it borderline unplayable, if not beautiful, the few times I've tried it. But Monkey Island collaboration, which I got to admit is pretty cool. Sean, you infamously had a Guy Bush 3-wood statue that's been destroyed. That was $3,000. And will this make you play Sea of Thieves?
I'm not going to lie. I might actually check it out, but it seems like a really weird crossover. Like, I don't feel like the audiences of those two games are the same at all.
I think they are.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, like, I just feel like, well, I guess I don't know who's playing Sea of Thieves. Obviously, there are a lot of people playing it, but it's it's more of an action game. Like, I don't even really understand what this is. Like,
you know what? I hope the game's improved. When it drops, you want to hop in, I'm game. I will look at that water again. It is beautiful water. But
yeah, for sure.
Never has a game had such a long tail based on a water engine. But that's where we are. People like pirates should, I guess. And next, Microsoft Flight Sim. I was waiting to see if this was like an expansion. They're still making expansions. It's not. It is a new SKU sequel, Microsoft Flight Sim 2024, which made a lot of sense when I saw that, because it's a little bit of a niche market for flight simulators, and to just keep supporting in the same game doesn't seem that financially viable. So new one coming in 2024, had a lot of jobs, like different search and rescue missions and practical real world applications of flight. Not surprisingly, those all looked extremely boring, and I perked up mildly for air racing, but that was about it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I was just thinking, is there an actual game here now? I couldn't really tell. I assume there really isn't, but
there is. It's also an extremely boring game, but it's a game.
But they're giving you objectives and stuff to do, I guess, with some of those new vehicles. And okay.
Yeah. The Dune Dragonfly vehicle did look amazing, though. Not gonna lie, that looked pretty cool.
I mean, speaking of games where the audiences don't really cross over, that seemed weird too. But I might check it out.
they're obviously selling copies of this game though, either on PC or Xbox, because why would you not just update the existing version if primarily your sales are on Game Pass? So obviously other people are buying it, and so doing another version, they feel like it'll be worthwhile to have two versions going. So I was a little surprised that this wasn't just an update to the existing one. It seemed like they were trying to make that more like a platform, but obviously not. So
I think it is. I think it is one of those games that there's a lot of people that's the only game they play, and they have these big rigs and flight sticks and stuff. So it probably makes sense to sell them a new one.
Yeah. Next, to me, the biggest failure of the entire showcase, Hellblade 2, Senua's Saga. And this game has been around for a while. It's got a previous entry in the series. Last time we saw kind of this intriguing gameplay demo. This was literally the most boring 2-minute cinematic trailer with nothing. The only thing I could even take from it was the creature in the background. It had like this kind of shader thing that was like, that looks pretty cool. I'm curious to see that as like a character or art style. But this was the biggest nothing with an intro. I don't know. Am I the only one that was like completely shocked?
No.
This is the update for this game?
It feels like they are advertising like their facial capture tech and that actress's poor overacting chops. Like, I don't know what else this would be advertising to a game player. Like, there wasn't even
2 minutes long. Nothing.
It was literally the actress like looking left to right and the camera spinning around her, like with that thing in the background. I don't know what that was supposed to mean to anybody other than like maybe it was supposed to look cool, but you don't, like you said, you don't need 2 minutes.
I have zero
to show
context.
that thing off.
Yeah, it was a vibe atmosphere thing. That's the only thing you can really get out of it.
It's a vibe killer.
It feels like they just were like, we need to have something from this game, and maybe the development team wasn't really at a place where they could show something, so this is what they got. But yeah,
something is not always better than nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, speaking of shock, another Like a Dragon game. Infinite Wealth. How many of these games are they going to make? It's out of control.
They're the best.
So this is different from the one that was at the Sony showcase? Okay, I thought so, but I wasn't sure.
I think this is a sequel to the other Like a Dragon game.
There's like 3. So there's the original Like a Dragon, and then I believe there's like 3 spin-offs from that game. And I don't know what they are, but I don't know. I thought this trailer was hilarious. Wait, unless I'm confusing it with the other Like a Dragon new game that was in the summer showcase. Was this the one where the guy woke up on the beach naked?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, this one was great. I thought this was hilarious.
I feel like it's a prank being played on us, where every showcase is going to have some new Like a Dragon game, and it's going to culminate in like some weird viral marketing thing. How do this many versions of a game exist? It's crazy.
All I have to say is the Yakuza series, I think, is way more popular than anyone really thinks it is.
It has to be.
And I think people just eat it up. And I believe that this is just like, all they do is show a character that you recognize, and then people eat it up. Like, I don't even think it matters what the character does.
Wow.
I think they just eat it up.
I was barfing.
The title of the PlayStation 1, I believe, or like the one that was shown at the PlayStation press conference, was Like a Dragon Gaiden, the man who erased his name, which was a very long
at the
title.
The Summerfest one. I think it says Sony.
Oh, that was this week, you mean?
Yeah.
Maybe it was.
Yeah.
I mean, these are all starting to blur together, but
yeah.
There may have been another one at the Sony one. There may have been, but it was
I see some mention of like another Yakuza game, but it doesn't have the title listed. I don't know. I haven't played any of these, so I have no idea.
Okay, next I'm just gonna burn through some games as a service stuff. So Fallout 76, Atlantic City expansion, Elder Scrolls Online, Necrom, Overwatch 2 is getting story missions officially August 10th that are co-op playable, I think, in Toronto.
Yeah, what was up with that? I was
I don't
like,
know.
what? Like, and then they don't mention it again.
Toronto
but
is under attack.
the CN towers there. They had like King Street Station or something. Like,
Kind of cool though.
yeah, I mean, sure.
I actually installed Overwatch 2 the other day, so I'll check it out. And Cyberpunk, the new DLC, what's it called? Phantom Liberty?
I believe so.
Yes.
Is just showing some of that stuff. Got to get Keanu in there. I just want to know how much they paid him to be there.
What was up with Keanu's voice? Was that like effects from like the game related to, or like his voice was it just blown out? Like
that's Keanu now. That is Keanu.
I don't know, man. Maybe, but like it was weird because everybody else was talking at a certain volume, and then when he came on, it was just like distorted and weird.
It's him.
Maybe.
Haven't you seen the video where he like talks to that kid that's like, "You're my favorite hero ever." He's like, "That's awesome, Johnny." See that so many times. Okay. Anything to say about any of those?
I mean, I'm actually kind of excited for the Cyberpunk one, but about it.
Okay. Next, the most pleasant surprise of the show for me, the Path of the Goddess from Capcom. And myself and the chat were all saying, new Onimusha, new Onimusha. We were like, it's happening. And it isn't, but it feels a bit like a spiritual successor to Onimusha. And an interesting, like, again, shader art with the trails and looked pretty cool. Not a lot to go on, but I'm in at this point.
Yeah, it's funny. I had an exact opposite reaction to this. I was not excited about it at all. It was like very weird samurai game. And I don't know, it was flowery and like weird trails coming off everywhere and lots of like, it was very weird, colorful things going everywhere. And I could not really understand what was going on. And there was like the other samurai game we saw at the Sony thing had me way more interested than this game did.
Okay.
I remember thinking the visuals were I remember thinking the visuals were kind of cool, but I don't know. There was something else about this game, and I can't remember what it was. I mean, this was like a cinematic heavy?
No, there's quite a bit of gameplay in there.
Was there? Yeah. I don't know. Maybe I'm getting mixed up with something else now, but don't remember what I thought of it really.
Look, let's just say that's not a good sign. Apparently, I'm the one who is really into that one. Next, Forza 6. Everyone they were losing it. Cadillac and Corvette. Huge news. That's basically what everyone was talking about today across the internet. And not that GM probably had a little payola in on this showcase, but I'm sure this game, it's rebranded as Forza Motorsport, right? Like just that's all. And I'm sure it will be good coming this October.
Now, are you a motorsport guy or a Horizon guy?
I prefer Horizon, but I like both. Although I never actually beat any of those games in those series, but I do.
Yeah, I've never played a motorsport, and I've been dabbling in GT 6, 7. What's the newest one that just came out? 7. And I don't know. After just dabbling in GT7 and enjoying it, I don't know if I would pick up Forza Motorsport to play it because I feel like they're pretty similar games.
Yeah, I mean, hot take. I think Forza is better by a long shot at this point. So
interesting. Okay, well, maybe I will try.
7 was an improvement, but I like Forza. And next up, a pretty intriguing game, I would say, from Don't Nod, Jusant, and very interesting art style. I wish listed it on Steam, and there was a demo available on Steam. So I played the demo today. It basically features climbing mechanics and pretty similar to the Call of the Mountain or a lot of climbing VR games, where maybe a climbing version of Death Stranding, where you're deciding what each hand is a trigger, left and right, and you're trying to move it up a wall face. I did not like it. I think it's pretty bad. It did not control very well. I got stuck in geometry like 3 times. Looked great. The intro was amazing. I was like, this game is going to rule. And then I went to play it, and not a great demo. So,
is it literally just a mountain climbing game?
The portion I played was just mountain climbing. But I will say the montage and the gameplay footage, like it had a lot of like rappelling and moving side to side. It almost had an exploration vibe on while you're on the side of a mountain, which I think is cool. And when they were like showing the area and looking up to the top, I think it could be a good game. It just needs some more polish before it comes out, which is soon. I think it was October as well.
Yeah, it looked cool.
Yeah, didn't
I was not interested in playing a mountain climbing game. The only thing I got was a little bit of vibe. I don't know why I got this vibe, but Brothers: A Tale of Two Tales or whatever it was called. Do you remember that game?
Oh, Two Tail.
Do you know the game I'm talking about?
I think A Tale of Two Sons. Is that right?
Tale of Two Sons. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. I don't know why. Maybe because you had to do some of those like swinging things with the 2 controllers. So maybe that was it. But
maybe
I don't know.
I will say climbing mechanics like that do work better in VR when you're doing your hands for that type of thing. So next, I believe I have no notes for this. It was a purely cinematic trailer. Still Wakes the Deep. Already gone from my head. I would not.
It was on an oil rig, and it made it sound like it was some sort of horror game. Now I don't know if it was all cinematic, because I believe there was like some first person shots, which could have been in game potentially. Could be like a first person horror game from what I took from the trailer.
Yeah. Next, Dungeons of Hinterberg, I think. Is that right?
I think so.
Not the Hinterberg or anything like that. I thought this looked pretty bad as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I thought it
didn't really
good.
showcase.
I mean, I'm not sure really what it is, but I don't know. Something about it felt a bit unique to me.
It did not land. It felt very generic to me. And I liked the idea of the open world setting. It does have a unique art style, but it didn't do much for me. I could see it being good though. It has some appeal. Oh, that's the other thing. The protagonist has a sword that's also like a surfboard or something you move around on. I'm like,
yeah,
so many games have done this type of thing better already, and like made locomotion or a system like that way more compelling than this. So it's got potential, but looked pretty disappointing to me. Next, have they announced this game before, City Skylines 2, or is this a first time it's ever been mentioned?
I don't know. I was leaning towards no, but it's possibly.
I've
like
never played a Cities game.
Yeah, I feel like Cities Skylines 1 just came out, but maybe that was
it's been out
the
for a while.
VR version.
No, yeah, that's the VR.
It's been
version.
out for a while.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's like probably 6-7 years old, and I thought it was the typeface and all that. I thought it was going to be a new SimCity game, which
I wasn't sure.
Which
you figure that would not be a Microsoft thing though. You think that'd be a Nintendo thing, wouldn't you?
No, because it's like, doesn't EA own
SimCity?
Like,
I guess you're right. Yeah,
right?
They have like game.
Oh, true.
Game Pass has EA access to
Sims and stuff. Yeah.
But yeah, I'm sure people who like that series will be excited about that. I am not one of them. Next was Towerborn, a kind of side-scrolling beat 'em up with a pretty good art style. Gave me Guardian Heroes vibes. I thought it looked okay.
I couldn't tell if this is like a co-op game, which maybe would make it more intriguing if you could do couch co-op with this game. But
it is co-op.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Whenever they show
slightly interested,
like the characters were always moving forward, from what I remember, or like at least from left to right across the screen. where when it's a beat 'em up, there's some backtracking within the screen and stuff like that, and it didn't show anything like that. So I'm kind of curious to see exactly what it is, but it looked okay.
And it's from the people who did Banner Saga, I believe.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, that art style does remind me of it now that you mention it.
All right. And last thing I've got on my list here, I would say up there for the most pleasant surprise as well, which was Clockwork Revolution. I thought for sure it was a new BioShock game when I was seeing the trailer. And it's clearly inspired by BioShock at some level. It's a kind of a steampunk futuristic city with like these clockwork elements. I thought it looked really good. The time travel puzzle solving looked a little generic, but I'm in.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
It's definitely like a nice new Microsoft IP, but it seems like it's pretty far out right now.
Mm-hmm.
I was not totally sold by the time travel aspect of it, but I thought it looked pretty polished. So I'm interested.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know when we're getting a new BioShock game, but this might just fill the gap or be a good replacement. So I'm in. Now, sorry, go ahead.
Before we leave, did anyone notice the shirt Phil Harrison was wearing? Hexen. Didn't I bring up Hexen?
Bill Spencer.
Sorry, Phil Harrison. Sorry, my mistake. Ooh, embarrassing. Didn't I bring up Hexen like last week when we were talking about one of those games?
Yeah, it's definitely a Game Junk listener.
Me and Spencer reading minds right there. Yeah, or he listens to the show. That's definitely more likely.
Yeah,
I know that's a big thing. Whatever shirt he wears is like some like small announcement, and we're gonna see something with Hexen. I don't know exactly what. Now overall, I feel like the show is a dud, and I wouldn't have even have thought it was that bad. But then you throw in the fact that they said we're not going to have full CGI trailers, and then really under-delivered on that promise. And I guess for our letter grade, are we including Starfield? There was a Starfield portion I didn't mention. It does change things a bit for me.
I think we should. I mean, it's kind of
you have to. Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, overall, my thought was, again, it seems weird that they said that ahead of time, but a lot of cinematic stuff, and it made it feel like they're afraid to show stuff too early, possibly because of Redfall. I don't know.
I'm curious. They were initially leaning on Activision stuff potentially as well, that it's still in limbo and they can't do that.
The other thing is maybe they saw how much stuff was announced at Sony and they knew they were going to need something for this, because this is kind of like the new E3, and they needed to show something, and they don't have polished gameplay for like any other game, so they had to do CG. That's the other thing. And a lot of the games were 2024, not a lot of 2023 stuff from what I remember. So that 2024 random time frame is pretty nebulous and could easily slip to 2025.
I think they basically said Starfield and Forza are the two big releases for the year.
Phil, if you're listening, you better hope Starfield is the best game ever made. Otherwise, you're in big trouble.
Yeah.
Okay, let's give our letter grades for this showcase.
It's tough.
I'll say my gut was a D, but if I really put it against the PlayStation one, it's not better to me. Like, it's about the same. And I think there's more games I remember from the PlayStation one than this. I think I'm giving it also.
Uh-oh. Suspense.
Oh no.
It's not just me with the technical difficulties.
It's a disaster.
We're never going to finish this show. I hope he didn't lose power. I guess we wait 5 minutes, see what happens.
I guess we can give our letter grades while Frank's gone.
Sure.
So I'm going to give it a C. Kind of right down the middle. I think the Sony one was better than this personally. And I think there was some cool new things shown, but yeah, just so much stuff there was
Hang
no
on.
gameplay.
Sorry.
So there's been an unfortunate interruption in Frank's power. He probably Microsoft was listening, is what it comes down to. But he has
Definitely
confirmed his letter rating for the Xbox showcase was a D-. Pretty harsh. I personally am going with a C, which I think is still lower than what I had the Sony. So I think the Sony one was better overall, but just, yeah, like some good new stuff revealed, but just so much cinematic and so little gameplay.
Yeah, I think you and I both gave the Sony one a B-, if I recall. I think that's ringing a bell for me. But I think for this one, I'm gonna lean a little more. I'm gonna go a little C+. I actually was more impressed with the Starfield stuff than I thought I would be, and it actually got me more intrigued in that game than I thought I would be. And a lot of the other stuff definitely brought it down, but the Starfield stuff I actually enjoyed. So I'm gonna sit with a C+ and Phil's Hexen shirt, basically. Thanks, Phil. You're the best.
Nice. Okay, so yeah, I mean, I guess Frank's power's still out. We're gonna just wrap this up, and we still had to talk about Summer Game Fest, but I think we're gonna do that separately, possibly at the same time that we talk about the UB Forward. So, yeah, I think that's it for this episode. I mean, is there anything else in terms of stuff you played or anything else you want to talk about, Huck?
Well, I'm just waiting for the technical difficulties to hit you over there, Sean.
So far, I'm the only one who's
then the show will be complete. No, I don't think I played anything. I mean, I have been dabbling with some Nintendo Online games, I guess is what I could say. So I played a Sega Genesis game called Flicky. I dabbled with that. It's like I don't know. It's not worth describing. And then I played Punch Out on the NES, and then I played some Super Punch Out on the SNES. So I've been having fun just kind of going through and trying out some games I haven't played in a long time, and just kind of dabbling on the Nintendo Online ecosystem. That's kind of what I've been doing.
Nice. Saw that they're putting the Blaster Master Game Boy Color game on there, I think.
I think that did go on there. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm gonna have to check that out. I've never played that, but
I've still been waiting for Golden Sun to hit the GBA, which they teased, I don't know, a year and a half ago, and they still haven't put it on there. So that's what I'm really waiting for, but I don't know when it'll get there.
They're taking their time.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I had a couple demos I tried. I'll save that because they kind of tie to the Summer Game Fest, but I'll just say Tears of the Kingdom, 4 temples down.
Whoa.
So I'm getting, I mean, I don't know how much more end game stuff there is. I feel like there's still probably a fair bit, but yeah, I'm getting there.
Nice. I have not even loaded mine back up. I am really hitting a wall in that second temple. So my motivation is not there. Actually, I did think of something I haven't played. I've been playing Final Fantasy 2, the original Final Fantasy 2. And I've been just kind of grinding it out. It's a really weird, unique Final Fantasy game because you don't actually level up based on just pure experience. You level up your stats as you use them. So if you fight, you gain strength. If you use magic, you gain magic power and magic points. And if you get hit, you gain hit points. So it's a very unique Final Fantasy game. The story is pretty weird and hard to follow, but I'm kind of digging it, to be honest. It's kind of interesting. And so I've been looking for a game to just mindlessly grind, stuff while I'm doing boring stuff at work. And this fits the bill perfectly. So I've been playing that as well.
Nice.
And so
how many Final Fantasy games do you have on the go? It feels like you got a few of them.
Just this one, really. I mean, just Final Fantasy 2. I was playing Final Fantasy 5 for a bit there, but I fall off that one every time around the same area. So luckily I've got like a guide now, like bookmarked, so I could go back to that at some time. But yeah, it's I play all these games with a guide now because I find that is the downfall of the older Final Fantasy games is if you were to leave it and then come back, if you have, saved not near a town, you potentially have no idea where to go next. And your only option is to try to maybe wander around, find a town, talk to people, see if you could kind of figure out what to do next or where you're supposed to go, and hope that the game designers were smart enough to actually, have the people in the town tell you where to go. There's no quest log or anything. So it's definitely a downfall of the older games. That newer games, I appreciate the quest log a lot because you can log back in and just know exactly kind of where you want to go. Even like the compass markers and, things on your map of where to go, your current objective are just so helpful for, when you put a game down for more than a couple days. So, the return of Frank. Oh my goodness. He's back. He's back,
baby.
We were just wrapping up the show.
Hey, like I said, people were pissed. They were trying to shut us down. Didn't like the letter grades. They didn't like the dose of reality.
Yeah, well, Sean gave your letter grade for you, so
B-, same as PlayStation. What did you guys give?
I gave it a C,
and I gave it a C plus because of Starfield.
I mean, I hate to see what Frank gave Summer Game Fest itself, but
all right, Summer Game Fest 2023, presented by Jeff Keighley, and I don't know if it was just that the Game Awards were such a pleasant surprise. In my head, I thought Summer Game Fest was really good last year, but I don't know if that was actually the case. So this was a 2-hour show, and I don't think I can go over everything. Like it's just a lot of, you can't even separate ad from announcement for most of the show. It really starts to blend together. But overall, extremely underwhelming. And I really don't have a lot of stuff that excited me. I think the first thing, if I have this documented correctly, was probably my favorite thing, or at least newest exciting thing of the show, which was Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown, a new 2D Metroid-like in the Prince of Persia universe. And I definitely thought of Sean. What do you think, bud?
Yeah, I was excited for sure. I mean, Metroid-like, was that actually
was that
or
was
no?
That
but I looked it up after. And it said it
okay.
is.
Okay. I mean, yeah, I could see how that would work for sure. But I just thought it looked kind of fast paced and fun, and I liked the art style, and just kind of excited to have a new Prince of Persia game. I mean, it's been a long time.
I love the art style. I thought the combat looked awesome, like really fun.
Yeah.
The Metroid like is definitely more intriguing. When I thought it was just kind of like a retelling of the original Prince of Persia game, I was like, nah, whatever, that's not that big of a thing. But if you add in sort of like upgrades and adding stuff that way, I'm more interested for sure. And they did strap a release date on it.
I think the article I saw was Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown looks like a stylish Metroidvania. Just quoting it. Not really saying.
You may be jumping to some conclusions there.
I don't know if it's officially a Metroid-like yet, but I would bet that it is.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting just because the Sands of Time remake is still kind of MOA as far as we know.
It's done.
MIA.
It's done. It's MOA, bud. And its release date January 18th, 2024. So pretty soon.
Yep.
Looked good. Next, a lot more footage of Mortal Kombat 1. And I guess like I knew about this game. It's not a big deal, but it is fun sometimes to actually talk about a game a bit more and get a bit of a context, especially for this one, the title Mortal Kombat 1. I thought it was like a reboot rather than actually like a continuation in a different, like a timeline thing. So I haven't played a lot of the Mortal Kombat games. I like the fatality system and the look of things in these new games, but anyone gonna jump back into the Mortal Kombat world with one?
I can't say I'm going to jump back in, but I thought it looked pretty nice. I mean, for people that like Mortal Kombat, I can see this being a good, probably a interesting trailer and interesting information to have. So, yeah,
John,
I
there
will
was
not
one
be.
announcement that might have pulled you in.
What's that?
JCVD.
Oh yeah. It was weird when they mentioned it too. They pronounced his name weird. I was like, who's that? Like what did they call him? Jean-Claude Van Damme or something like that? I don't know. It was weird. But yeah, I mean, I guess it's kind of weird because he was like in the Street Fighter movie and now he's in Mortal Kombat. I mean, they pulled him over to the other side.
Hey,
Uh-oh.
wherever the money is. Good.
You know what? I was just going
uh,
to say, I started watching Universal Soldier the other night too. Like,
oh, nice.
he's just coming everywhere.
I mean, the only thing I was
coming everywhere.
The only thing I was going to say is I'm probably more likely to play this than Street Fighter 6, but probably not going to play it either.
Okay. They kept talking about they've been trying to get Jean-Claude Van Damme forever. I would love to know how much money it costs to get him for this.
Yeah.
I want to know how much, because there's a lot of relatively big performers and actors getting into video games now, including Nicolas Cage, which we'll talk about. And I want to know how much these deals are for. It's, let's skip ahead to that. We got to. It's got to be the lead anyway, or close to the lead of the show, which was Nicolas Cage is coming to Dead by Daylight as a new character or villain. And he
Survivor, I think.
Oh, no, I don't think so.
I don't think he's a villain.
Yeah,
he's horror movie villains.
Yeah, he's a survivor or whatever.
They don't have like character survivors, do they?
I think they do, or now they do. I don't know. Let me see if I can find it here, but pretty sure that was the case.
Well, that's even worse. And that does not make sense to me, but please confirm. And I will say, we talked about Keanu in the other one, and there's always these celebrity cameos at some of these video game shows that are cringeworthy every time. This is the rare exception. The celebrity appearance, he actually faked it as like a gaming, it was clear he doesn't know much about games, but he held his own on that stage and actually was quite good. And then in a total reversal, his character in the game looked nothing like him and was terrible. So very rarely does it go the opposite way, where the live salesmanship is good, but the game is horrible.
So confirmed that he is a survivor. He made a point on stage of saying that he did all of the grunts and the every little sound that the character makes because he wanted you to have a connection with him while playing it. So that seemed pretty cool. But yeah, I mean, it was a fun appearance. I did not really get the sense that he plays video games at all, but he was
kind of upfront about that, which I liked. He just said,
"Yeah," and
he idea of it, and he definitely likes money, and it was good. It was honest. At least it felt honest in some way, but it looks brutal, and I am so sick of hearing about Nicolas Cage.
I must say, when he came out, I was like, oh God, this is going to be the worst. And then I was loving every second of his his promotion. You could tell he was like, I don't know how to describe it, but he was into it, but do absolutely nothing. But like you said, Frank, he was given the perfect sales pitch and nailed it. And I loved it. And I just thought, he went out there trying to be funny. I think he pulled it off. I don't know. I loved it. I don't think he knows anything about Dead by Daylight, except they paid him a ton of money to go into a voice booth and probably get his face scanned.
And I don't think it's a very good face scan. I think the Like, I think he actually said it can't look exactly like me, because I cannot imagine someone modeling a character and it looking less like a celebrity and like close to it, where he's like, you know what, you can use me, but it's got to be a little off. I don't want it to look just like me. I do want to know that dollar value though. All right. Path of Exile 2 was next. Basically looking a bit like Diablo 4 with more magic infused stuff. Looked okay. Weird that there was no HUD or anything going on. It was not a lot to say. Has anyone played Path of Exile 1 or know anything about it?
No. I also, this is the one where the person was just kind of like running away and then the thing busts through the wall.
Yeah.
I didn't think it showed much variety either in any of the like abilities or anything. So I didn't really get the trailer in terms of what are you trying to show here.
Yeah. It did look good. It looked comparable or perhaps better than Diablo 4 to me, which says something. It's a similar game. Next, Street Fighter 6 collab with Exo Primal. Crickets everywhere, audience chat. Like, okay, moving on.
That was one thing about this show, because there's a live audience now. Some of these trailers were just like they finished and there was like silence.
That one especially.
Yeah.
I actually think Exo Primal looks kind of cool. But this is like a nothing announcement. Wow. Very strange. Witcher 3 season 3. Only wanted to bring it up just to remind everyone, if you didn't know, Henry Cavill's like actually a really big nerd and loves Warhammer and he loves The Witchers. Just because he's like a super hunky dude, he's a real hardcore nerd and loves building PCs. Just your friendly reminder, which we hear about all the time. Witchfire, September 23rd, a game that's been around for a while and looks pretty good. I'm intrigued, but nothing about this trailer changed how I felt about the game. You guys?
Same.
Don't even really remember it.
All right. I feel like the next section were paid ads, technically, but one of the things featured in it was Remnant 2, which, Huck, you were vibing with big time.
I was vibing with it. Yeah, I thought it looked pretty good. I thought, you know what? I think I said to you guys, it's giving me a little bit of the Binary Domain vibes, just like how they're, a lot of different environments, a lot of different enemies. It seemed like they were showing a lot of, interesting areas. And I don't know why I got that vibe. That's just the feeling I got. There were a little too many like quick camera cuts. And it seemed like they were like switching from like real gameplay to like a cinematic view of the gameplay that I didn't really like. I wish they kind of just stuck with more gameplay to show what the actual gameplay was like. But overall, I was kind of digging it a lot more than I thought I would. I don't even remember thinking anything about this game beforehand, and now I'm interested.
I played the first one, and it was pretty good. It just didn't hook me in terms of like this, raid and loot third person shooter. I will say Humble Choice right now, if anyone does Humble Choice, pretty good bundle for June. Ghostwire Tokyo, the original Remnant, if you wanted to play that one before the new one comes out, Curse of the Dead Gods, and Grime, and a bunch of other stuff. So some decent AAA games or AA games in the Humble Choice bundle this month. So, and I believe Remnant 2 is coming out soon, July, if I'm not mistaken.
July 25th.
Okay, next, Sonic Superstars, a new Sonic the Hedgehog classic 2D game with an updated graphical style. I know they've released like Sonic 4 and other similar things, but I thought this one looked pretty good.
Yeah, kind of a pleasant surprise, I thought. I mean, we talk about Sonic all the time and like how like the classic Sonic games, you get moving so fast you can't see what's coming at you and all that kind of stuff. It did feel like they sort of slowed it down a bit. I don't know if I'm crazy. Like I felt like they're trying to make it more playable, which is kind of good.
Yeah, I mean, don't be fooled, John. This game will suffer from all of the classic Sonic the Hedgehog design issues. But yeah, it looked decent.
I thought it looked good. I like the art style, but who is that character that they like teased at the end that then they cut off right before it kind of transitioned into the new art style that the audience was like, "Oh, do you even recognize that character?" It looked like some sort of like fox or raccoon or something.
No, I have absolutely no
Okay.
idea.
Yeah, okay. Neither do
No.
I. Okay.
I will say at one point there's like 4 characters. I think it's co-op, and it's like Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, and Amy. And they turned into these other creatures at some point, like these pixelated. I can't remember what they were. Maybe like an octopus or something like that. I have no idea. But I'd never noticed it before. Those 4 characters, like almost exact same colors as the Pac-Man ghosts.
Interesting.
I couldn't help but notice it
Conspiracy.
when they changed forms and looked like pixelated. So cool. Such a cool observation. Next up, Hoyoverse game. I don't know what it's called, and I don't remember much about it.
Hokai Star Rail. It's like the next Genshin Impact game. Yeah, it's out already. It's like an update. We can just skip by.
An update on Lies of P, which is this September or October?
I want to say September.
I think so too.
Yep.
Also, Game Pass.
Oh, was it? Yeah.
Yeah, I looked today. I was going through the Game Pass list, and it was said coming soon. Lies of P.
That's cool. This was another game. They said there was a demo. I played the demo for this today, and I liked it quite a bit. It's, I'd say, somewhere in between like a AA and AAA Souls-like game, but the combat was pretty sound and it looked good. And I liked the polish of the menu and for the loading bar, because it's Pinocchio. Instead of now loading, it said now lying, and the progress bar was his nose growing.
Perfect.
I'm digging it. In on Lies of P.
It's interesting. This trailer I felt was going for pure environmental like mood and atmosphere, and I thought they were trying to do some sort of like BioShock vibes going on. It definitely seemed like there was not enough gameplay for what I would have expected. And I don't know. I wrote down there's some weird weapons. I don't recall what those weird weapons were, but I wrote it down as a note. And overall, I wasn't too impressed with this trailer in particular, but I still am interested slightly in this game. Not as much as you guys, I don't think, but it's on my radar to try. Definitely gonna dabble if it's on Game Pass.
Yeah, I mean, I'll check it out on Game Pass, but Souls-like probably not for me, but it's kind of a cool concept.
Next, this seemed to be the game a lot of people liked or was a pleasant surprise in this show, Sandland, which is connected to the Dragon Ball Z creator. I think I didn't know if it was a Dragon Ball Z game or show. But I don't know. I don't have much to say about it. I didn't think it was all that great. What do you guys got?
Got nothing.
I like the art style.
I like the art style too, but gameplay wise, definitely didn't pull me in. I guess I liked that it was new or something different than I've seen other places. Oh man, this is a rough show. Next big thing, an announcement for a different showcase, June 29th, Annapurna. Yikes.
Definitely not a paid spot there.
Throne and Liberty. Well, this definitely was a paid spot. Amazon Payola, Throne and Liberty. Is that what it's called?
Throne and Liberty, yes.
Oh, I mean, the trends we're seeing across all of these showcases lately, 4-player horde shooters, construction management games, and like generic mobile, like large platform free to play games that you forget the second you see them on the screen. So that seems to be where people are attempting to make money, and I cannot imagine it's going well. But who knows? Maybe I'm just an out of touch old boomer dude that has no clue what the kids are playing these days, but these games look brutal, including the next one, similar vein, Warhaven. Forgettable.
Yeah, it kind of reminded me of like Chivalry 2, actually, in its gameplay. But
Okay.
free to play, so I don't know. Maybe try to take some of that Chivalry 2 audience or something.
All right. So quickly, Party Animals, bit of an update on that game, September 20th. Dying Light content update, snoozing big time. Crash Team Rumble. Like the crowd absolutely lost their mind when they confirmed Ripper Roo is playable. Huge. uh God, what is going on?
They're desperate, man.
Oh my!
Who is Ripperoo?
It's a boss. It actually is one of my favorite bosses in the whole Crash series. But I'm sure
Okay.
Ripperoo is beloved by Crash fans. But I would love to see the numbers on this game when it releases on June 20th. Next, and probably the most significant part of the show, a actual playable section from Alan Wake 2, and where I started to really pick up on this trend of multiple playable characters switching, and the Spider-Man 2 had this as well. Like that's the new thing. And I think it's a good idea because with sequels, I've always said they try to add new systems and to give you new things, and it just fucks with the game too much. They don't do it well. So I think adding new characters and slightly modified play styles with the same core mechanics incorporates variety to make the games feel fresh, even though there's not that much new mechanically. I think it's a good idea, and I like it so far, but I think I'm going to get tired of it. This game literally looked like Resident Evil. It's like their entire game direction was just to make this look like Resident Evil, and we'll call it Alan Wake. And
Yep.
And it works because I'm going to play it. It's pretty
That
good.
is my note. My note is very RE4 or whatever. New RE.
Yeah. And even the HUD, like the style of the HUD elements graphically looked like Resident Evil. And to be fair, a good Resident Evil game. It looked decent, and the lighting was good, but like the intro to this game with is it Sam Lake talking about, like, can we get to the point here? Like, what are we doing?
Yeah. So a lot of the developers that appeared on stage were not that great, I didn't think.
It is not helping your games. We just want to show the footage or play it, and talk while you're playing is even better. Like have a canned kind of routine and some jokes here and there, and talk about it while you're playing it. Seems like a better idea to me. Next, Space Marine 2. What's the count at like Warhammer games where they're just taking Warhammer and applying it to different genres? I think there is a MOBA. This is like the third person shooter. There's a first person shooter, a boomer shooter, obviously the strategy series. Like they are
there more Warhammer games than Yakuza
like a dragon
spinoffs? Yeah. That's the question.
Pretty close. It's all just to make Henry Cavill happy. The guys can have so much Warhammer content. It's huge.
Oh, yeah.
That being said, it looked like Warhammer Gears of War, or Gears of Warhammer. How did I miss that when I made my notes? I actually think it looks pretty good.
Yeah. Thought it looked okay too.
I think you guys liked this previous entry in this game. Yes, Your Grace Snowfall. What did you guys think?
Yeah, I
Did
thought
not play it.
Oh, okay. I played it. I liked the first game a lot. I think they definitely upgraded their pixel art skills and the presentation of the scenes. The first Yes or Grace was very traditional, just like, 2D pixel art. This looks like what's that game that was it replaced? Was that like pixel arty game with like the crazy camera angles? It looks like they're kind of taking inspiration from that almost and putting into the kind of 3D pixel arty with camera motion going on, and it looked pretty good. I thought it looked pretty interesting, and I'll definitely check this one out.
Cool. Another, I would say, at least an announcement that was talked about quite a bit. John Carpenter's Toxic Commando, which is another kind of looks like a horde shooter. inspired by some of the team dynamics and dialogue of John Carpenter movies. And I don't know, I'm kind of getting burnt out on these types of games, but I question the amount of involvement from JC, but it definitely is just enough to make me intrigued and to follow the game.
Yeah, probably wouldn't have even given this another glance if it didn't have his name on it. But knowing him, he probably did not do much for it, although he does like games quite a bit.
He does, but low key, not great tasting games. Like he's always like, new Assassin's Creed is amazing. Like, bud, you're playing the wrong games. Sorry, Johnny. I never played the Fear. Didn't he direct one of the Fear games or a couple of them?
I think, yeah, he had some kind of involvement there. Yeah.
Okay.
But I mean, the one thing that was kind of cool was the bigger vehicles, kind of like multiple people piling on these vehicles and kind of plowing through hordes of enemies. That looked kind of fun.
Was this the game that's done by the World War Z developers? I think someone in the Discord mentioned it and said that game was actually kind of good.
Focus Entertainment, I believe, and Saber Interactive. Not sure.
I might be thinking of the wrong game, but it's on the radar, which is why you put that name on there to get it on the radar. Otherwise, this would have just faded into obscurity. So it's a bit of a thing.
The only thing that was holding me in was the John Bon. That's the only thing that's holding me in there.
That had the eyes rolling out of the back of my head. Next up, a game was in a bunch of showcases, Baldur's Gate 3, which I think releases like out of early access end of August.
Yes.
I don't remember if they really said that much new here.
I don't think so.
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Marvel's Spider-Man 2 made an appearance, talking a bit more about the villains. Kraven and Venom is a villain, yet I think they confirmed not Eddie Brock. So someone else is Venom in this series, and the internet is going crazy. Who is Venom in Spider-Man 2? Do you guys want to guess?
Peter Parker.
Peter Parker.
Really?
Miles and Peter got to duke it out at some point.
Okay. We also got a release date, October 20th.
Mm-hmm.
Big missed opportunity. If they would have done a drop day of, it would have made up for the worst E3 week in history. Like all people would have been playing it. They would have absolutely crushed. I don't know the name of the next game. Pokemon with guns is like the note. I've seen it before.
Pal World.
Yeah.
It looks okay.
I didn't understand. Like, it looked to me like direct lifts of Pokemon. Okay.
I'm glad you said this, and I agree. It leaves a bad taste in my mouth. And we're not going to talk about all the other showcases in detail, but this is a big thing this week for me. I watched Day of the Devs, the PC gaming showcase. What's the other one I watched? Devolver. I like that one. But these games, if I made like an iconic game and then this other game looked exactly like Cuphead, and these other games are clearly just Hades reskinnings and all this stuff, like, man, there's so many games that are just taking a game and putting new art on it, basically. And I'm getting a little like sick of the same types of games showing up over and over again. We might have reached game saturation, especially indie game saturation.
Oh yeah. I think we've hit it a long time ago, but definitely.
I'm starting to feel it big time, where I would still like, oh, that looks cool. Or this pixel art Metroidvania looks good. I even wish listed a couple of them, but we need something. We need a shake up. We need something new to mix things up a bit in these showcases. An exciting new mobile game, Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis. Huck, you get this thing ready to install on your phone?
You're skipping over all the ads?
Yeah. I did. I stopped taking notes of all the clearly paid advertisements.
Yeah, okay. I don't know. I was surprised. Like, I'm interested, but I was so confused because the characters in the CG look completely different than the characters in the battle scenes, and they look completely different in like the story sections where they have dialogue. So I don't even know what to expect from this game. It seems like three different games that they're like mashing together. I don't know what's really the game. I was very confused, but I will probably put it on a device I own at some time.
What if it's a $20 mobile game?
No, definitely not.
Okay.
That's what most of those Final Fantasy
Yeah.
I know.
games are.
Like this kind of art style that's adjacent to the original. It looked okay, but I don't think I'll be dipping. Next, I do not remember seeing this game or anything about it. Banishers, Ghosts of New Eden.
I wrote down that was a third-person action game.
It was crickets in the audience.
It's a Don't Nod game, but I don't.
Oh,
remember
right. Maybe it looked okay now that I think about it. I thought it deserved a little bit better reception than it got from the audience.
Was this the one where they? It's in like North America, like rural North America or something like that, and there's like ghosts.
Yeah, I think so. It's like an action game.
Yeah,
It's
an odd trailer.
Yeah. Next, like a Dragon Gaiden or like a Gaiden Dragon?
Like a Dragon.
The man who erased his name.
You got it.
Okay. I checked out completely.
Mm-hmm.
An update on the Quantic Dream game Under the Waves, which looks like a stylistic adventure game.
This Quantic Dream?
Yeah.
Published by them, I believe.
Oh, okay. Pardon me.
Okay.
Coming August 29th.
I mean, it does look like maybe a Huck game, though. It's Subnautica with a bit more narrative focus, I guess.
Yeah, I did write Subnautica-esque, less crafting, more story. That was my notes. I am kind of interested, but it does look very heavy story. And when they showed the like exploring in the sub and then exploring the places, I can see that possibly getting boring after like the first two places you go to, if that's all there is. Now, if this was like a 2-hour story experience, I'd be interested. But if it's going to be like an 8-hour thing, I'd probably be less interested. So I'll have to wait.
I think it's going to be really short, but I did not wish list it, I don't think. Season 4 Warzone, Porsche 75 on Xbox, just Marvel Snap updates from pretty.
I'm yawning here, Frank.
Yeah, me too. At least I'm like remembering the team lead for Marvel Snap being very overwhelming, and
yeah, he was very loud,
very passionate.
Did not need a microphone.
A little off-putting. Fortnite new season was starting the next day. I'm like, can you at this point in the show, I'm like, can you give me something? Just something that I can latch onto. And they did. Twisted Metal live action trailer with Will Arnett giving.
Really? I missed this. When was this?
Like a video he recorded in his house in 2 minutes because he's contractually obligated with like he's the exact opposite of Nicolas Cage. And this was quite possibly the worst content trailer I've ever seen in my life.
I mean, I was kind of curious about this show, and now I'm just like not interested at all.
Like the Sweet Tooth is a like CG character, like CG head on a human performance with Will Arnett's voice that is painfully unfunny. And like it looks like it was filmed on a green screen. Like this is atrocious.
Yeah.
We have to review this. I can't wait. Look,
if we gotta watch it, then
we ever needed proof.
Watch it.
The blue haze is not a thing. It's going to be this show. Like, this is one of the worst things I've ever seen, but it's probably going to rule. Next, oh man, my note is so bad here. Liz Fanga, the time shift warlord.
Oh yeah.
Is this
Is that right? I thought
Time
I like
shift warrior, I believe.
warrior.
Now,
Yeah.
Sean, did you talk about this before about being like Super Time Force? Is this the game
No,
you were
that-
talking about?
no,
or is this
that
another
was-
game?
It's another one. The one I was talking about was a VR game, which isn't really, it's not visually similar at all. It's just a little bit conceptually similar, I thought, but this does look like that.
Oh, because I thought I had remembered you talking about a game that looked like Super Time Force, and I just assumed it was this one because
No, that was the
very
VR
super
That
time.
was the VR puzzle game.
Yeah,
Right?
it's very super time. Anyways, this one is Super Time Force like for sure. So
It didn't look awful. I just I don't know. It was 2 hours into the show, and I'm like, I don't know if we need to keep going here. You know?
yeah,
I actually kind of feel bad for the game because it might not. I think it would have been better as like the lead game in the PC showcase or something like that.
Yep.
Another big star power for Immortals of Avium, and we kind of talked about that last week, right? We did, right?
I think so.
Yep.
Fortnite Wilds. I must have really been checked out at this point. I like reflexively typing things I saw.
Isn't that's just the new season, right? I think.
Okay, maybe I made
Well,
a
this
note.
this also has there's like they talked about how they showed dinosaurs, and then they talked about the Transformers stuff.
Right, yeah.
Any ringing bells there, Frank? No.
Okay. And then now we finally get one huge meaningful thing, at least, and it's Final Fantasy Rebirth, a new trailer, and it looks good. I don't know if it answered any questions for me necessarily in terms of what the game is going to be, but people were certainly talking about the fact that it's 2 discs in the physical version, so it's a very big game, not surprisingly, and it's delayed as well. It's like early 2024 and was previously announced to be holiday 2023, which I think makes sense. There was no way they were going to release 2 Final Fantasy games in 1 year. Seems like the dumbest thing ever. But still, for me, I don't know if this is open world, if you go across a map, how linear it is. I'm obviously going to love it and play it, but I don't know. I'm about exactly where I would have been without seeing the trailer.
Yeah, the combat looked similar to the old game. I mean, they did show like Red 13, Yuffie, all the characters. And then
But we've seen those characters before.
have we seen Red 13 in like combat?
Yeah. In
Okay.
in Intergrade,
Okay.
that character was there, but you couldn't control them. So
Okay.
like
All right.
there's no real like new characters like Sid or is it
Vincent?
or
Kate
Vincent?
Sith? Kate Sith? Something like that.
Yeah. So I kind of like that. I don't know what those characters look like yet. I want to kind of save that for the future.
Yeah.
But I'm obviously in. A little
Yeah.
disappointed that it got delayed.
There was a couple like nice nods again back to the original. You saw Junon, the big cannon city, and you saw what's his name, like Bugenheim or something like that. The guy in Cosmo Canyon. Yeah, I don't know his name. But so there was like a couple nice nods like that, and obviously they're building the story, but they didn't. I don't know. They showed us a couple like really complicated looking boss type fights, and I feel like I need to replay the end of Final Fantasy Remake to remember what the hell happened at the end of that game.
Well, it was kind of alluding to now there's a twist in terms of the narrative, and it was Bugenhagen, so you weren't that far off.
Okay, yeah, it's close.
But like I got the impression, maybe I'm crazy, that they were like that a certain character is not going to get killed, but a different one might be.
Well, I think there is kind of that ambiguity in the original game as well. because they had all the scenes they showed were in the original game. I just don't think it's like so explicitly called out that we're referring to the Tifa scene that's showing. And I don't think it's in the original game it's ever so explicitly called out that Sephiroth thinks he killed Tifa in that section.
I mean, this one's definitely, by the end of the first one, you get the sense they're rewriting what's going to happen. So I think people were reading into that a bit. Sean, you got to get on board with these Final Fantasy VIIs, bro.
I do want to play them. I don't know when it's going to happen. But
it's perfect. Final Fantasy VII, the original, you can play in fast forward mode, 3 times speed. It's amazing.
Might be a good way to experience it.
Yeah.
Just while we're talking about this, like this was the big show closer. I think a lot of people were expecting Death Stranding 2, and no Kojima.
Yeah, because it's like him and Keeley are buddies or something like that.
Yeah, he's always there somewhere.
And they're literally putting Death Stranding into everything, everywhere. How is it not here? And the other thing, the most memorable thing of the whole show was when they were like teasing some announcement and it ended up being a DoorDash advertisement.
Oh, yeah.
And everyone was like getting hyped up, and that was the biggest reaction from the crowd the whole show.
He was kind of like, no, don't change.
Yeah, at least he said like don't. I think he was feeling the vibes a bit, and probably ahead of time knew that this was not the greatest lineup, which is really, it feels like, I hate to say these two words, epic fail. Considering from my perspective, the Game Awards were the most relevant they've ever been. Like, it actually felt like an event. People talked about it. It went viral in a lot of different ways. And then this just kind of brought that momentum. Not that they're the exact same, but they're definitely part of the same Keeley universe. And this one,
Keeleyverse.
Dud City.
I think this is a problem with this showcase because, he came in, I guess, was it the year that E3 didn't happen, to try and fill a void.
Mm-hmm.
But now everybody's doing their own showcases, so they don't want to give him all their good stuff. They'll just throw him a bone here and there. So he's just got all these table scraps to show, and it's just not. It's supposed to be the main big event, and it never is now.
Yeah, and what do you do when you have table scraps? You extend it into 2 hours as long as it can possibly be. It's the perfect formula.
You take the most heaping pile of table snacks that you could think of.
Yeah, like, hey, we got to get it all. People need to know Ripper Roo is playable. Okay,
I think they also. It's possible that this was not the best time. Like, even we saw the other showcases pretty weak across the board. Maybe there's just not any good announcements to be had. So they had to scrape the bottom of the barrel, for anything to show here.
I mean, just in general, the vibe of this week, we'll see what happens with UB and Capcom, but I'm definitely not holding my breath in EA. But I think games are in trouble. It is, I don't know if it's just these newer games are so demanding in terms of because of expectations by assholes like us, that they have to be so good that the amount of time and polish they take and cost is so high, and the risk level is so high, they have to be good, and they're just not ready to release anything because of us.
Yep.
Yes,
I agree.
It could be a little bit of the COVID thing too, but still a little hangover from that.
Could be. But they got AI to help them now, so.
Oh, of course. Yep.
Figure it out. Like I said, I'm not holding my breath for games these days. Let's give a letter grade. I mean, mine should be pretty obvious. F+.
What's the plus for?
So just a reference.
Okay.
Jeez. I mean, probably a D-, I guess.
I'm gonna give it an F. I mean, even the Final Fantasy stuff I liked, but it didn't blow me away. I was definitely more interested by the Starfield stuff than the Final Fantasy stuff. and I'm a huge Final Fantasy VII fan, so it looked great, but not enough to really bring this out of the dustbin.
Yeah. So in terms of the other shows, I want to say the Devolver Digital Showcase was awesome. Like they did this whole like Volvi character and nostalgia, like bringing back a character. The games, there were not many of them, but I thought that was like legit funny, which is so rare in games. If you watch the PC gaming showcase, it tried to do a similar AI bit that just was a total failure comparatively. And yeah, I thought it was pretty fun for a short, fun show.
Yeah, I always will watch theirs just because it is fairly short and it's always weird and off the wall. I agree. Not a ton of games there, but there was a couple of cool things.
Yeah. I'm embarrassed to say I did go to buy Volvi merch, and the stuff that I wanted was sold out.
Oh
So,
no!
Yeah.
Oh, disaster!
I needed to be watching live to get my huge hand on that Volvi plush animal. I'm still kind of hurt. I watched Day of the Devs overall had the best games, or the ones that I was like, this looks kind of cool. Nothing blew me away, but out of all the indie stuff I saw, it had the best.
Yeah, that's the one I usually like the most. Although even this year, I did think it was a little weaker than previous years. Maybe I had just seen some of the games before. I should mention real quick, I did play, there's a demo for Viewfinder on PlayStation right now.
Which listed that, yeah.
It might be on Steam as well. I know there was one floating around before, but definitely check that out. It was really cool. Like if you're into puzzle games, The Witness, Superliminal, stuff like that. Like the idea is that you have pictures, like 2D pictures of environments, and when you place them, they become 3D. So you can like put them in the environment to try to get to other areas, put down a bridge, something like that. And then later you can take pictures of something and bring it somewhere else, which is really cool.
That game looked really good. And like the idea of the concept of the photos and the polish of them integrating with the 3D environment was seamless. It
looked really good. Two games I want to mention from the Day of the Devs. Henry Halfhead, I thought looked kind of interesting. Interesting little puzzle game. I'm not sure how it's going to control. It looks like it might be a little clunky, but it definitely had me intrigued. And then the other one is Cart Life. I don't know if you guys played Cart Life originally, but I don't know how this game's going to resonate now, but back when it was originally released, it was like right up there with like Papers, Please and all the other like new indie games that had just come out, when indies were kind of the new it thing. And this was one of the games that kind of, I remember blowing up a little bit on the internet. Did you ever play this game, Cart Life?
No. And I actually thought this trailer looked kind of weak.
The trailer is weak, but the game is excellent.
Okay.
So,
and that was another one that had, I think, like pretty big multiplayer races. Was it 60 or something like that? Or
Cart Life? No, you're thinking of a completely different game. This is a game about like owning a hot dog stand.
Oh, right. Sorry.
In black and white.
Yeah. Sorry, that's the one they mentioned. It got pulled at some point.
Yes.
From the store. And okay, I didn't know anything about. Okay, my bad. Yes.
Yeah, it did look cool. I didn't know anything about it.
I was like, I don't remember this cart race being a big deal. It all makes sense now.
Yeah.
The PC gaming showcase was really bad. It was 2 hours as well and very forgettable, and stuff I'd seen before. Wish listed a couple things, but I was grasping for sure.
I didn't watch that, but I did scan the announcements, and one game caught my eye because I thought it had to be a joke, but apparently this is real. 2D Metroidvania based on A Christmas Carol.
Oh yes, Ebenezer and
the Invisible World.
What?
Not enough Christmas games out there, so I'm in.
Amazing.
I didn't mind their segue from IPs, classic IPs that can be turned into games with, and they alluded to Lies of P. But yeah, it did not look. I would have been in. I'm like, I've always said there should be more Christmas games, like Christmas nights, like games you fire up every Christmas, kind of like Costume Quest is a Halloween game. Someone needs to make a Christmas game. I've got a few up here I've mentioned before, but this was a huge opportunity, and the graphically did not look very good. And I think that's it. I didn't watch any of the other showcases.
Yeah, I watched a bunch of them, and like I said, it wasn't that impressed. The one other thing that I actually tried a demo for on Steam was Anton Blast, and I can't remember which showcase this was in, but it's interesting. It's kind of a Wario Land style game, but very similar to, well, I don't know if it's similar because I haven't played it, but Pizza Tower just came out this year, also Wario Land inspired, and it definitely reminded me of like Grapple Dog, maybe even a bit of Kaze. Like there's a bit of a retro kind of
vibe.
Yeah.
I think that Tiny Thor game came out recently. It's a retro platformer as well. And it looks cool, but it just speaks to this saturation where every subgenre of games has 10 variants. And
yeah,
I don't know. It's
just, yeah, so many games and so many showcases to get through. Like it's crazy.
Yeah. And disappointing that it feels like they're stretching pretty thin to fill those showcases with material based on what's out there.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I think that's it. Have we said it all?
Definitely.
Said quite a bit. So hopefully.
Absolutely. Did you do any youtube.com/Game Junk to watch the video? Nope. And I think we'll leave it at that. Discord link is on there. Let us know what games you thought were good and just how big of a debacle this E3 replacement week was. Thanks for listening or watching. See you next time. Bye-bye.